All right, y'all. We give praise, esteem, and honor to the living Elohim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach today. We pick it up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote in me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? Praise be to Yahuwah. Let's go to Psalm 78. Psalm 78. We'll get straight on down because I'm going to focus more on the verses on this back end. We'll get straight to verse 60. She like, man, I'm sick of this crap. That's not her block.
Because I told you to turn the light on. You walked away before you finished. The block you pulled is out of it.
So he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent he placed among men. He delivered his strength into captivity, his esteem into the enemy's hand. He gave his people over also unto the sword, and was wroth with his inheritance. The fire consumed their young men, their maidens were not given in marriage. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentations. Then the Lord awaked as out of sleep like a mighty man, and shouted by reason of wine. He smote his enemies in the hindered part. He put them to perpetual reproach. Moreover, he refused the tabernacle of Joseph, and chose not the tribe of Ephraim, but he chose the tribe of Yehuda, the Mount Zion, which he loved. He built his sanctuary like the earth which he established forever. He chose David also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following the ewes great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people, and Yasharal his inheritance. So he fed them according to the integrity of his heart, and he guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop this Proverbs 5 on you. Now I know I had meant to go around here the other day, maybe the other week. I can't remember what it was, but I know it was in my mind and we ain't do it. For context, for those of you who wondering why are we going over here to this Proverbs chapter 5, you can pick it up at verse 1 if you would. I run the whole thing down. We've done it before. I'll do it again. It's still running in the lines of what we're talking about, especially dealing with Adam being the tabernacle of Shiloh first and foremost. But we were talking about this because, I think some of you didn't see it. I didn't watch the entirety of it because I just chose not to. Kevin Samuels telling men to marry, black men and specifically, to marry white women. Now, of course, the text is about to tell you, because the word of Yahuwah tells you not to do these things. You're also going to see some examples of why he tells you not to do these things. And of course, the end result of why you should not do these things. Now, Tavon asked the question of, does it matter? Should you not do it, whether they're in the word or not? Of course, if they're in the word, it doesn't matter. You understand? But this is going to pertain to dealing what is in Deuteronomy 7 of explicitly and specifically why he tells you not to do these things. And he's going to give you a harsh and stern rebuke for your stupidity upon you doing so. Proverbs chapter 5 and verse 1. My son, attend unto my wisdom, bow your ear unto my understanding. Now, again, I'm going to take my time. We're going to walk it down. You have kasav. Now, I want you to understand kasav. That is to pay attention, to incline, and to hearken, to pay attention. You know what I'm talking about? Now, we were just listening to brother talk about this here. You know why a lot of people are really, really incompetent in a myriad of areas in their life? Because they do not pay attention. Now, I've told some of you this numerous times. You get distracted and you don't pay attention. And that is what leads to incompetency. How can you be competent when you don't even have the discipline enough to pay attention to things that are beneficial and valuable to your growth and extension as a man? Of course, you're going to grow up and be incompetent. You know what I'm talking about? It's a lot of things, man. Like, there's certain stuff that I cannot dispute because I don't care who says it or how individuals feel about this here. These are just certain things that I was taught as a young man growing into an older man to being a mature man, whatever you want to put it. It's just certain things, man. You can't be competent and you don't pay attention. Ain't no way in the world. A lack of ability to discipline yourself to pay attention is clearly a lack of discipline, which is going to definitely relate in your ability to be competent in any area. And I don't just hear what it is. And he's telling you to pay attention to his wisdom. That means he's telling you to pay attention to the skill in war or the ability how to conduct and operate yourself, and to then bow your ear to the insight that he has to give. Now, when he tells you to bow your ear, bow in this particular instance is natah, and that is to stretch out, to hold out, to spread out, to incline, to bend. But more important, to incline. Incline your ears to understanding, to have an insight, because the skill does you no good without the insight. And that's what we're going through this for you to have insight. See, that's why I told y'all when, that's why these rules be talking about you didn't want to flex what you know, because these stupid niggas ain't got no insight. So for them, they think it's just myriad of banding about of precepts and knowledge and information when insight is being given. You're getting the skill by seeing what to do or what not to do in a particular situation, and the insight on why you should or should not participate in a particular event, matter, decision, or choice. You know what's funny? As I was listening to the brother talk about this in this regards, that because I've told niggas this here before, when dudes be like, why nigga gotta have money? What do you mean, nigga? Money is evidence of your competency. And the first thing, if you deal it in the word and you hear a man say, well, money is evidence of competency, because Mashiach himself say, by what you gonna judge them? Their fruit. That meaning that by which they are able to produce. So even with Elohim, a man still has to have the ability to produce in order for you to determine what type of man you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? You can't get around that. And the reason why I don't have any problem with that, because these are man laws. These are if Elohim stated, then you know it's universal. That man say, by your fruit, by their fruit, you're going to know them. That man said, point blank period. If he came up on this fig tree and that fig tree didn't have no fruit, that man said, dung it, and he cursed it. Because you did not produce anything. You know that from the parable of the talents. You mean to tell me you didn't produce nothing on what I gave you, nigga? He said, you slothful and wicked servant. That's what he called it. That's what he called it. You didn't produce nothing, and you don't think you're going to sit back and tell me, but I'm a good man, and I'm this, that, that. Ain't nobody trying to hear all that, man. Ain't nobody trying to hear all that. That's women talk, my G. That's how women talk. I ain't produced nothing, but I'm a good woman. A good woman how? How are you going to sit back and look at that when your Elohim himself don't go for that? He don't go for that. So we can't go for it neither. I'm just telling you this stuff because I know most of you gentlemen already know this. This is not for most of you. This is somebody who's going to come back later. Or for somebody who might be sitting around and you around here lollygagging, playing games. Nigga, tighten your behind up. Brother Sharon said he hit me earlier. He said, man, I'm trying to make sure I don't get lazy. He said, I was reading that Proverbs 6. Now, you know, we went over that Proverbs 6 some years ago. And for some, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been something and Sun in the Frame when Leah was a baby. She was like this here, and she could see parts of her body that shouldn't have been on tape. So it got took down. But we went over that Proverbs 6. Shalom, man. Hey, let me know if you got that right for Brother Judah, East, man. But we went over that Proverbs 6. Look unto the ant, you sluggard. You know what I'm talking about? Because even in that proverb, he's telling you need to produce. And you don't need to be told to get up and do what you're supposed to go do as a man. Because that proverb's not written to no women. You know what I'm saying? As many times I done told you to use the actual behavior of women as an example, I've always told you that woman's behavior is a reflection of your behavior to Yahuwah. You know what I'm saying? We ain't finna be sitting around here complaining about what no woman ain't gonna do. If she ain't doing nothing, what you fooling with her for? You the damn fool to sit back and complain about a woman when you could just calmly just say, you could go. Or I'm gonna go. But either way it go, I ain't staying with this hoe. You know what I'm talking about? Because that's what Yahuwah did. And how many times have I told you that? That's what Yahuwah did for you to understand that. For sure, for sure, for sure. Good luck. Praise the Lord. You know what I'm talking about? These niggas wild, man. Y'all should always remember that. How many times we done went over that parable, man? That man came to that fig tree, ain't had no fruit on. That man was hot. You know what I'm talking about? That man was hot by that. Now imagine he walk up to you and he looking for some joy, some peace, some long suffering, some faith, some love, some gentleness. You know what I'm talking about? Some temperance, and you telling them, I'm a good man though. I got a good personality. He already told you that in Matthew 7. You're going to come to him and say, we did many good works. And he going to say, depart from me, you work of iniquity. I never knew you. You ain't produced nothing. You ain't produced nothing. That man ain't going for that. Boy, don't let nobody tell you as a man, boy, you ain't got to produce nothing. Boy, that's not of God, boy. Boy, that's not of God, boy. Yahuwah don't even roll with that, man. You better watch these niggas, man. That's why I've been told you that. That's why I don't be mad at these dudes. I already know these niggas on the internet hoes. You sit back and you see some niggas sit around complaining about women all day and all night, that nigga a sucker for love, man. Because if you complain about women, that means you ain't put no plan together to get no money, my nigga. I wasn't raised like that, man. We gotta get you some money, man. You know what I'm talking about? I always done told you. I told y'all, boy, that last week. Boy, if I got a choose between money and some vagina, boy, I'm picking money, boy. I'm picking money, boy. And I've been picking money since I was 16 years old. I'm taking that money, man. I ain't finna miss out on no money for no woman, man. I ain't finna do it. You know what I'm talking about? I'm good on that. I'd rather have that money, man. Because, shoot, people say money come and go. Shoot, women come and go. Man, the only time you supposed to sit back and forego money for a woman is if your wife finna have your child, man, or she's in a physically compromised state or a family type of emergency, man. You talking about miss out on some money to sit around and hold hands and go do this here or watch the doggone movie, man, bump that junk, man. I'm going to get this money, man. I ain't on that sentimental romantic junk, nigga. You call me whatever you want to call me, boy. I need this money, man. You know what I'm talking about? My kids can't do nothing with no sentimental romantic junk. Nigga, I don't even like doing that junk, nigga. That's going to be for her anyway. It ain't for me. I don't get nothing from this. That junk don't do nothing for me. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely nothing. Every man different. Some of y'all, it might do something for you. That junk don't do nothing for me. I ain't on none of that junk. You know what I'm talking about? And you're supposed to sit back and look at that because I'm referencing all that for one point. And if you know the word, then you know what point that I'm referencing it for. Because that man told you in two different locations. In Luke chapter 14, verse 26, on down, that man said you got to be willing to forsake wives, sons, daughters, brothers, even your own life, or you can't be his disciple. So you would have to be willing to put that labor before anybody else. And that man say, hey, man, let me go back to the house and bury my father. He say, hey, he that put his hand to the plow, looking back ain't fit for the kingdom of Elohim. It's the same thing. That doesn't mean that you don't love or care about your spouse, but that means that there's something greater and more important than her. And my purpose is more important than her. It's always going to be more important than her. And if you ask any woman and she's being honest, she's going to tell you, I prefer that his purpose is more important than me. Because if he puts me before that, that means that if we go broke, he going to be sitting looking at me, talking about hug me, baby, and love me, when I need you to be going out here to do what you got to do. Because this nigga said something real, then I'm going to move on. That nigga said it's one thing that can't nobody feel secure in a situation in, and that's when a man is struggling. And that ain't no lie. And secure by definition is just going to be confidence, because that's all insecure means is a lack of confidence. Nobody can't be confident and you struggling. This is one of the reasons why Mashiach ain't gonna let nobody see him when he was in the midst of having that moment in the flesh where he weary like that, because that's not going to gender confidence. They're going to see a man struggling with his mission. They're not going to be secure. You're not going to follow him. I've been telling y'all that for years, man. You can let all these whole niggas out here tell y'all that junk don't matter, man. And then when your wife drag you through the mud and your kids tell you a buster, don't be crying about it and saying nobody told you. I don't know what these niggas, I don't know who raised these niggas, man, but clearly it couldn't have been no men because this junk is sad. You know what I'm talking about? Now, it's one thing if you don't know. It's another thing when you resist manhood principles. You know what I'm talking about? I ain't gonna knock nobody for not knowing, because you don't know what you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? It's a lot of stuff that I ain't know and I ain't know it. But when a nigga told me and I seen it, I said, well, that's what I got to do. But when you see manhood principles and you try to fight against manhood principles to protect your fractured and frail ego, well, you got a problem, boy. Nigga, bump your ego and bump your feelings. You know what I'm talking about? Because your son can't grow up and become a man off your feelings, my nigga. Do you know what I'm saying? He can't do it. This young sad out here, man. It gets sad about a day when you see the stuff that these niggas be on out here, man. You know what I'm saying? It's rough out here, man. It's rough out here. It ain't right. It ain't right before the Lord. Listen to what he said in verse 2, Proverbs Chapter 5, though. He said that you may regard discretion and that your lips may keep knowledge. Now, I want you to understand that he says that he's telling you this. Samar is for regard, which, of course, you should know that is to guard and to keep. But we want to talk about discretion, which is Mizmowr, a word that you should know. That's your purpose. You understand? Your devices, your discretion, that's your purpose. You need to sit back and think about that. When you're going to sit back and you are going to attend or to sit back and to regard and incline unto skill in war and then stretch your ear out to insight, this is what is going to allow you to regard the purpose of Elohim, to keep it and guard it. Now, pause. Let's come over here to Deuteronomy chapter 7 for you to understand the purpose that we're talking about while we're even reading Proverbs chapter 5, because even still, this is going to go back to what we were talking about in Job, because he listened to the strange woman, because the strange woman was his wife the minute that she began to listen to someone other than the instruction that her husband gave her. See, as a woman, you should notice here, I don't care what nobody come and say to you. But if your husband gave you an explicit and direct instruction, you ought to follow it. You should already know this, because if you know the word, and if you know me, then you know what I'm going to go to. I'm referring to 1 Kings 13. Because that prophet knew exactly what was the instruction that his husband gave him. I don't care what that old man told you, boy. I told you, don't go back the way you came. Don't eat no bread. Don't drink no water in this place. I don't care this man say I'm a prophet too. Sit down and eat with me. What did your husband tell you to do? See, we ain't talking about an instance. What if my husband tell me to go against the word? You ought to slap yourself for even asking such an asinine question. You already know the answer to that question. Don't ask me no stupid junk like that. You know what I'm talking about? Straight up and down, don't ask me no stupid question like that, because you already know the answer to it. But if your husband told you to do something, I don't care what no other man told you to do. I don't care if that nigga preached the word. I don't care if he don't preach the word. I don't care if you got a job. I don't care what no other man told you to do. You better do what your husband told you to do, because that's who are going to hold you accountable for listening to. You know what I'm talking about? If that man told you don't let nobody in my house, then you better sit back and look out the window. That nigga be here at 4:30. I wouldn't care if it was your mammy at the door. I wouldn't care who was at the door. You supposed to have enough respect for that man to say, my husband say they don't let nobody in this house. He'll be here at 4:30. If you would like to enter, you can enter then. And if a nigga can't respect that, then that says more about them than it do about you. But see, they don't like to hear stuff like that. Just like you hear people say, that man trying to control me. Man, ain't nobody trying to control no more, because you can leave. See, when you hear somebody say somebody trying to control, how you trying somebody try to control you when you have the option to depart? He'll say that if a man say, hey, if you want to walk with your booty cheeks and your breasts hanging out, you can't be my wife. You trying to control me. I ain't trying to control nothing, because you can dress and act any way you want. You just not going to do it with me. See, most people don't like to hear that when you tell them, no, I'm not telling you you can't do anything. Because Yahuwah is telling you can do whatever you want also. You're just not going to dwell with him. You know what I'm talking about? You want to be a liar? You want to be a thief? You want to be an idolater? You can do all of that. You're just not going to dwell in this house. You're not going to enter into the gates of this city. I ain't telling you what you can and can't do. I told you what you can and can't do to live with me. That's what people get the game twisted at. That man ain't told you what you can and can't do. Even them laws he gave your forefathers, them laws was if you're going to live with me. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to live with me and be my wife, then this is what you're going to do. If not, there's the door. See, that's an even swap, no swindle. I ain't got no problem with that. How could you have a problem with that? Because nobody's forcing you to do anything. This is a voluntary acceptance. Which, remember, we go back to us talking about the votive offering. That is a voluntary offering. Nobody's pushing you to do that. That means you volunteered that out of the goodness of your own heart. You were inclined to do so. And one thing about black people ain't inclined to give anybody nothing. You know what I'm saying? Not if they feel like they ain't getting no benefit from it. This is why Paul made the statement that he made, man. Like, niggas will take everything from a nigga and give nothing back in return because they feel like give them something for what? Because I'm mentioning this because I heard dudes have a conversation about why black folks don't give back to HBCUs. I'm of the mind of, why would I give back to an educational institution that I had to pay to go to? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you money, but I had to pay you to go here. You didn't do me any favor. This was a business transaction. You know what I'm talking about? You said I had to pay $80,000 to go here for 4 years. I'm just saying, depending on the school, you might pay that. Could be more, could be, I don't know. I wasn't finna pay nobody to tell me you was a smart nigga. I knew that for I don't need you to pay me for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't gotta pay you for that. But I was like, most people don't give back to the school because when they get out of school, they're in debt. What do they have to give? But they were talking about, oh, you know, these rich people that get these endowments because that's prestige for them once they reach a certain thing. Then he was talking about some people giving money to a high school who been that. I'm like, shoot, nigga, I ain't gave a damn about Inglewood High School since I left that hoe. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not coming back. I ain't doing nothing for the school. I ain't giving them no money because I went to Inglewood High School because I lived in Mayfair Village apartments. That was the district that I had to go to school at. I didn't grow up and say, I sure want to go to Inglewood. Maybe niggas who go to Rains and Reebok feel different. They attached to the school. They feel so. I could have went to Rains and Reebok. I wouldn't give a damn. I ain't coming back around here. If there ain't nobody I know playing in the game, I ain't coming. If it ain't nobody I grew up with and their sons or daughters ain't playing, what I'm coming up here for? Sit up here with these young churn. I don't know these churn. I ain't tired of none of that junk. I ain't mad at nobody who do. I just ain't finna do it. I didn't mention that. It wasn't Rains and Reebok last week. Them boy was happy, wasn't it? They had a parade. They put their little jackets on, reminisce and had nostalgia. I ain't on none of that. Definitely ain't finna get no money to a school that I had to pay to go to. That make about much sense. It's tits on a board. Where was I going at? Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1, if you would. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. When Yahuwah your Elohim shall bring you into the land whither you go to possess it, and have cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Kenites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. When Yahuwah your Elohim shall deliver them before you, you shall smite them and utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shall you make marriages with them. Your daughter you shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shall you take unto your son. For they will turn away your son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahuwah be kindled against you and destroy you suddenly. But you shall deal with this, shall you deal with them. You shall break down their altars, break down their images, cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. So y'all should already know this. This is the key component why he tell you not to do this. Now, see, we're going to look at something. Well, we could go back history-wise, but you'd have to do more digging because I can't go through this right now. And you can see where your ancestors, whether in the land or out of the land, gave their wealth unto others. This is one of the reasons why Yahushua told you don't cast your pearls before swine. But we're going to get to that in a minute. I know we referenced that a week or so ago, well, a month or so, however long ago it was. I know it was recently, nevertheless. Nehemiah 13. Nehemiah 13. And after I go to Nehemiah 13, y'all know what it is. 2 Chronicles chapter 6. (13 and 23). I say, man, somebody in the word, man, you could be with whoever you want to be with. But you better be careful. And we're gonna look at strange women. You better be careful messing with them strange women. Them strange women get you in trouble. I just had to tell a young boy he hit me up in the inbox today, telling me, you know what I'm saying? I want to hit as many women as possible, be a player. I was like, be a player for what? You know what I'm saying? Like, And that means you can't control your penis, son. You think that's gonna make you? But I know why he feel like that. He done got done dirty by so many women. He feel like he got to get back by having sex with a bunch of women. What's a lot of fragile young men out here, man? That John sad whole time. 13:23, Nehemiah. In those days also I saw I Yahudim that married wives of Ashdod and of Ammon and Moab. Their sons spake half in the speech of Ashdod and could not speak in the Yahudim's language, but according to the language of each people. Stop. See, that right there in and of itself is a problem. But this is why we're going to ask this question. Why is it a problem? And this don't think on no, I'm talking about, you need to think like a man would think. Because see, this is going to go into a point what I'm going to reference of one of the things that I heard Kevin Samuel say in regards to this matter that was highly egregious. Because the reason why I'm stating this here, because I know book. So everything that I hear, I'm going to cross-reference it according to this book. And nigga, that junk asinine. It's asinine. But why is that a problem? He said they could not speak in the Yahudim's language, but to the language of all the people. And it ain't going to be what y'all might think it is now. I'm going to let that know right now. Let y'all know that right now. Now, of course, here with that one there, you have Yahuduth. Or Yahudith, that's how they got it here. In the Jewish language, in Hebrew. They couldn't speak in that language. And of course, languages is Lashon. They could not speak the Hebrew tongue. They had sons that spoke half in the speech of Ashdod, the language, and of course, Ashdodites literally means I will spoil. They are speaking, half of them are speaking the language of destruction. Oh my goodness. Oh, I would definitely put money on if they couldn't speak it. If they can't speak it, they couldn't read it. That's a good question. Do any of you gentlemen have anything to add in that regard? I think I might go to Ezra, where Ezra went to talking about this. Individual. Y'all ain't got nothing. It's a good amount of y'all on here. Y'all should have something. We ain't even 30 minutes in. Y'all boys like that already? That's a sad state of affairs. Maybe because y'all looking at it on the TV and you can't get quick to the draw with your typer. Maybe I'll blame that on that. I do have to take account. You might be watching this on your home entertainment system. I give you a moment. Because I ain't moving past this one here until I get some responses from some men. So I'll just sit here and sniff this Mont Blanc individual until somebody give me something. Oh, y'all think I'm playing too. Some of y'all better go back and tell them about that doggone time on that phone. He said he ain't got nothing on it. He waiting to see the angle. I need something from somebody. I need to hit my man's up. That man did not drop my doggone man. Not teaching the word to their sons. Oh, you slacking on your Mackin, young man. He said, And their sons spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Yahudim's language, but according to the language of each people. They spoke according to the tongues of others. You say you thinking about John chapter 3. If I've told you of earthly things, you won't understand if I tell you of heavenly things. And that's pretty decent. Won't get no dispute from me on that one. Anybody else before we proceed? And I can roll with that. If you're referring to their fathers conforming to the language and customs of Ashdod versus remaining true to their own inheritance, they blended themselves with the people of the land. And that's the gist of it. It's not just about the Hebrew language part, but as my mother just stated, if you can't read it in Hebrew, because which at the time that's what they would have been reading in, then how would they know their Elohim? And if you don't know your Elohim, then you're going to do exactly what's in Deuteronomy chapter 7. You're going to start worshiping the gods of the people of the land. Or as he just mentioned, now you begin to be blended in with these people, and now you begin to conform. If you conform, because see, this is something that you don't that's not imparted. We'll get to Stanley's point because Stanley went a little further. Johnny is also direct. You can't teach. Clearly, you're not going to be teaching the word to your sons because you're going to be more worried about being pleasing to your wife. Because clearly, your kids speak the language that your wife speaks. But see, that's another conversation in and of itself. But the point of the matter is this. This is something that is not conveyed unless you hear niggas be on they pro-blackity stuff. Oh, you think about as forth as the Tower of Babel. That's a little different. Because he confounded their speech so that they could not be in one consent to achieve a particular goal, if you would. You know what I'm saying? But this is something that you don't understand. Your language is tied to your culture, and your culture is tied to your way of living. This is why you always hear them say they took your name and they took your language. You take somebody's language, then you take their ability to identify with their culture. You take away their culture, then you take their ability to identify with their way of life. Once you do that, then you have the ability to conform these people to make them any way that you want them to be. But the difference here is you volunteered for that. So now what you've done is you're about to take your wealth and you're about to give it to another. Now let's go take a look at something, right? Come over here to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. And the key component of this particular passage here in Nehemiah that we started off with is to show you that they were unequally yoked with unbelievers. Because if your children are speaking the Ashdod's language, then they're worshiping the Ashdod's deities. And he's going to reference that Nehemiah is in a moment. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Now all we're just looking at this is what leads him to forsake Shiloh. That's why he forsook Shiloh the first time. You niggas were worshiping idol gods. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I might not even start at verse 14 off the top. I'm going to start it at verse 11. He said, "O you Corinthians, our mouth is open unto you and our heart is enlarged. You are not straitened in us, but you are straitened in your own bowels. Now for a recompense in the same, I speak as unto my children, be you also enlarged. Be you not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion have light with darkness? And what concord have Mashiach with Belial?" Who on here recalls what Belial means? I'm just making sure that can be typed and said out loud for those who don't know. I'm asking you this here to make sure that you're thinking. for yourself and not me just reference it. Who remembers what Belial means? Sons of Belial are mentioned in the Old Testament. If you would, the men who went against Saul were described as sons of Belial. Deuteronomy 13 says, if a son of Belial comes to try to convince you to worship another god, who can recall what Belial means? Exactly, sir. Thank you, sir. Worthless. Absolutely worthless. Which is also along the lines of what it is to be reprobate, is to be worthless, of no value. He says, what does Mashiach mean by definition? I know that's an easy question, but what does Mashiach mean by definition? That's spicy. What does Mashiach mean by definition? No, I'm asking what the word Mashiach means. That is correct. I need somebody on here to mention that. What does Mashiach mean? What does Mashiach mean? Oh, Mashiach don't mean talking, young man. That's what Taladim means. Yes, sir. Anointed. So if you are anointed, what are you anointed with? Set apart oil. So you're looking at how can the anointed have fellowship or a cod with worthlessness? You understand? That's what's being conveyed here. How can he that is anointed with because who did the anointing? It was the high priest that did. Matter of fact, the high priest and the king was the only ones who got anointed in the text. So how can somebody who's a king or a priest have fellowship with worthlessness? That makes absolutely no sense. And you have to understand something. Well, I'm going to just go ahead and take it out the text so you can see it for yourself. Come over here to Isaiah chapter 40. That boy, that wild. Isaiah chapter 40. You can pick it up at verse 12. Who have measured the waters in the hollow of his hand and meted out Shamahim with the span, comprehended the dust of the earth in measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance? Who have directed the Ruach of Yahuwah, or being his counselor have taught him? With whom took he counsel, and who instructed him? Who taught him in the path of judgment? Who taught him knowledge? Who showed to him the way of understanding? Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as a small dust of the balance. Behold, he take up the isles as a very little thing. That means that these people were worthless as far as he was concerned. You ain't got to like it. This is just how he viewed it. What made them worthless? Because they worshiped nothing. Come on back over here to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I just need you to understand what made them worthless is because they worship nothing. That's what makes you worthless to Yahuwah, when you worship nothing. You should know that, because how many times do we reference Psalms 118 when he said what? You worship an idol, you what? You stupid, just like the idol. Come over here to Psalm 118 so y'all can just see that, so y'all just don't think I'm making this up. This ain't got nothing to do with the nationality of a person. They're counted as nothing because they worship nothing. I might be in the wrong spot. Might be 116 that I desire. No, that ain't it. I was trying to move my page, but I'm going to have to move it. 115, my apologies. Psalms 115. 115 and 1. Psalms 115 and 1. Not unto us, O Yahuwah, not unto us, but unto your name give esteem for your mercy and for your truth's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is now their Elohim? But our Elohim is in Shamahim. He've done whatsoever he hath pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the works of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. They have feet, feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat, that they may make, they that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusts in them. Boy, he say, boy, you good and stupid. You're lifeless or you're worthless. That's the point of what he's telling you in Psalms 115. An idol is worthless. So therefore, to be a son of Belial, that clearly you worship nothing, which means you are worthless. So how can you have fellowship and concord and agreement with someone who is worthless? That makes absolutely no sense. That's why he counts them as nothing. They can only be counted as something as if they serve the true and living Elohim, which many of them do not. Return back over here to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Oh, it wasn't going to be no quick rundown through that Proverbs 5. I'll just take my time with it. It's all going to relate. I just thank the Lord. I've been supposed to did it. We did it when we went through Proverbs the first time. We did it about 4 or 5 years ago on top of that. And by the grace of Elohim, we're going to do it again. Because, boy, you let somebody come tell you that it's better for you in general. Because like this here, man, at the end of the day, it's just like what he did with the division of the land. He gave Yasharal some land. He gave Edom some land. He gave Moab some land. And he gave every group of people their own woman. That woman is for you. And for you to tell somebody to forsake your genetic makeup for your own selfish reasons because you believe if you do this going to make your women behave. Man, ain't no woman going to behave based on who you going to marry. Them women going to behave based off the conduct and standard of the men whom they have to interact with. Because they ain't going to have no choice. If the men become men, they ain't going to have no choice but to become a woman or she going to have to fend for herself. But see, it's easier for you to say she need to do better than for you to do better. I wouldn't even go to no woman and say you need to do better to be with me. I wouldn't even expect her to do any such thing. I'm talking about in general. She would have to know that you would be willing to step and not deal with them. And that is what's going to make, if you elevate yourself as a man, then the women have, I've already told y'all this before, and just in a scriptural sense. If people know that they can go to congregation where somebody's going to put up with their folly, there is no reason or impetus for anybody to change their ways. But if they know that that gospel and that standard is going to be the same no matter what assembly they go to, then they would have no choice but to amend their behavior or to just leave the book alone. But that's going to be contingent on the men who guard the word, who run these assemblies, to not accept or allow any type of folly under the face of, oh, we just got to be merciful and compassionate. See, we're not talking about just going off on people, ragging them and tossing them in the ground. But if a nigga knows she can't go over here and be no whore, because she knows she was over here, they say, nah, baby, you can't marry 2-3 niggas. And then come over to this group of people and do the same thing and cause chaos everywhere she go, then she knows she's going to have to amend her behavior. If this man know he can sit in this congregation, they told him, nah, you can't be no broke bum nigga over here, bro. You're going to have to go get you some money, man, and be a man. You know what I'm talking about? That man say, get it by your sweat or your brow, boy, and I ain't seen you sweat. But he'll go over here, see, it don't matter, brother, because, you know, it's a struggle out here, you know, and the white man keeping us down, and, you know, it's okay, brother, because, like I said, yeah, you're going to be rich in faith. We ain't got no problem with that. He ain't tell you to be no bum nigga neither, though. That ain't even know Yahuwah to be sitting around talking about me broke. And I don't care what I do, I ain't going to do nothing. We ain't talking about being rich, man. We talking about being a man and handling your responsibilities as a man. Because if you can't lead and take care of yourself, and the reason why I mention this, because you got brews out here who dead broke, don't want to do nothing, but want to lead a woman and some children. How, Sway? How? How is that going to happen? If you can't even properly function and feed yourself, how are you going to be responsible for other people's lives and expect these people to have the deference, reverence, honor, and respect for you that you feel that you should get because you have testicles and a penis? See, that's feminine in and of itself. You're not entitled to respect and leadership by reason of having testicles and a penis. You have to do things to show yourself that you are capable of such matters. And then, of course, Yahuwah will take care of the rest. You know what I'm talking about? You can't be, you ain't nobody going to respect you just because you know, man. That's sucker stuff, man. And I've been telling y'all that for years, man. A lot of these dudes wonder why these women be dragging them, nigga, because you're not a man, bro. She's not going to listen to you. And you're mad. But you ain't mad at her. You're really mad at yourself. Because you know every day you stand up and look in the mirror, you don't see a man. You see a sucker and a buster and a nigga who ought to put on his mama's makeup and her favorite wig. Because you ain't no different than your mama. That's why I said that there. You see your mama when you look at yourself in the mirror, and it damages your soul. And instead of sitting back and saying, let me gravitate to some men who can give me the skills and the ability to be the man that I was actually born to be, I'd rather sit here and keep playing in my mama makeup and putting on her wigs. And that's unfortunate. 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 14 all over again. Be you not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion have light with darkness? And what concord have Mashiach with Belial, or what part have he that believed with an infidel? What agreement have the temple of Elohim with idols? For you are the temple of the living Elohim. As Elohim have said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them and be you separate, saith Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be Abba unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, saith Yahuwah Almighty. So let's return to Nehemiah 13. That's why that verse 23 was a problem. Because you're having fellowship with unbelievers. See, where Eve messed up at is she had fellowship with an unbeliever. Pause. Let's take a look at it. Genesis chapter 3 to John chapter 8 after that. She had fellowship with an unbeliever. That's the lesson. This is how Shiloh ends up getting forsaken and his strength gets delivered into captivity. That's how that happens. But it happened for our benefit, for our salvation. So give praise to the Father for that. Genesis 3 and 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, have Elohim said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim have said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. For Elohim know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Right then and there, she had fellowship with an unbeliever. She should have not done so, because he convinced her and persuaded her to serve another God, that God being the God of her own heart. John chapter 8. See, this ain't the point out at the woman. This is the point out what is going to happen when you have fellowship, concord, or agreement, or intimacy, or closeness with an unbeliever. This is why Paul wrote to the Corinthians, know you not that evil communications corrupt good manners. Some of you had not the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. This is what we're looking at in Nehemiah 13. That evil communication corrupted her good manners or her conduct. I guess we can get to 1 Corinthians 15:4 after this, John 8. And that was the point, because that was evil communication from the adversary, and it corrupted her behavior because she had fellowship with a worthless individual, or with Belial. She had concord or agreement with darkness. That is correct. A sinner is definitely going to convert you before you convert them. Because see, for some of us, we just believe that people just gonna love you or like you enough to do something. And to be quite honest, most people don't care nothing about none of that, what you talking about. Because most people are led by their desires. And their desires are going to trump what you got going on. And what we fail to take into account is that you are subject to like passions as anybody else. And these people are going to seek to corrupt. That's why he say don't even fool with them. You know what I'm talking about? But see, some people take that don't even fool with them. It just cut them off completely, this, that, there, and the third. He's saying not fool with them by not participating in the things that they participate in. Because you could be inclined to participate in it also. Or not to entertain the conversations that they have with the means of trying to persuade you to do things that you know that you ought not, or to go to places that you ought not. It's very, very easy. And most men get got by women because most men have an inordinate desire to satisfy a woman. You know what I'm saying? An inordinate desire to make sure that she's happy and pleased. And her job is to make sure that you're happy and pleased. You done got it backwards because you spent your whole childhood trying to make sure your mama was happy and pleased with you. And you've taken that into adulthood to think that you're supposed to do that with the woman because you've never seen your mama with a man who she delighted to please. So you've seen your mama messing with men who delighted to please her. So again, you transfer that over as an adult. Do you know what I'm talking about? This is why, like, and this is a fact. Lady, we're talking about this here. I know Judah done made many a video talking about this junk, man. That's why a lot of women do stuff as forth as sending men out there. That's really where the back. Let me just put them to the side. That's where that protect all black women come from, because they think that you her guard dog, her attack dog, her the person who's supposed to come and tear apart anybody for any type of folly that she create and get you in, and you supposed to give your life for it. Don't be no damn fool. You know what I'm talking about? Don't be no damn fool. It's a lot of people, man. I think they were talking about that story. Some little girls in Atlanta, Alabama, on some other junk, and they stepdaddy got murked behind that junk that they created. They created some chaos and some folly, and this man jumped out here, let me protect my black daughters, and that man stinking in the grave, and they still out here with that folly. I learned that at an early age. Well, you can't jump behind no woman, boy. A woman get you in some mess, man. You know what I'm saying? Be around here running her mouth to a dude and expect you to come around here and clean up what she done did because she felt like she could pop off at the mouth. And this nigga got 15 other niggas with him and they all strapped. And it's just you. Now you got to defend her honor, so to speak, because she been out here acting on some old stupid junk. Boy, I'm not finna sacrifice my life for no damn fool woman like that. And you bet not do it neither. You know what I'm talking about? Because any woman with any type of decorum wouldn't even put no man she loved in that type of position that he would have to be able to put himself in physical harm for some stupidity that she on. See, that's what happened in that video y'all seen a while back when Buddy hit that white man in the mouth at that Steelers game. That woman put her husband in that event where he got beat up like that. Because now he got to come through and defend her honor. Nigga, that junk wasn't right. Shoot, messing with me, I'd be like, shoot, you might well hit that hoe in the mouth because she ain't coming home with me. She can't come home with me doing this here because she just shows she don't care about me. I ain't your crash test done. Won't set me up for failure like that. Now I got to go do 30, 40, 50 years in prison or be dead behind some dumb junk you got going on and another nigga gonna be busting up your back and I ain't gonna have no money on my commissary because you done married another dude and I'm in here sitting here rotting in prison for some junk you done did. Man, look here, man. Don't do it. John chapter 8, man, verse 39. I know niggas don't went to prison for that type of junk, man. I've been in prison with dudes who was in there for that type of junk, man. Definitely know a couple who done lost their life or been injured. We had a homeboy like that, man. We used to have to check that nigga like, nah, bro. I know you, boy. You ain't finna get us shot and ran up on some junk you done did and you dead wrong. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I ain't on that. No, sir. John 8:39. Cause we definitely like this here. We like, brother did something. So I ain't going around now. That boy be dead wrong every time. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Yahushua said unto them, if you were Abraham's sons, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man that have told you the truth, which I heard of Elohim. This did not Abraham? You do the deeds of your father. They said to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one father, even Elohim. Yahushua said unto them, if Elohim were your father, you would love me, for I proceed forth and came from him. From Elohim neither came of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because you cannot hear my word. You have of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. And when he speak a lie, he speak of his own, for he's a liar and the father of it. That's one of the reasons why you can't have no fellowship with no unbeliever. Because they're united and tied with lies. What you think they're going to try to tie you with? Well, that's how I was going after this young man. Oh, it fell out my brain. You were with an interval time. Oh, that's right. That's what we were talking about. We were talking about in the aspect of Eve having fellowship with an unbeliever. Because he just told you that. He didn't abide in the truth, which means Satan is an unbeliever. Let's return to Nehemiah 13. We still holding Proverbs 5. We're in verse 25. I contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them. I plucked off their hair. I made them swear by Elohim, saying, you shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Yasharal, sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his Elohim. Elohim made him Malik over all Yasharal. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. If you remember, I think we talked about this outlandish women here is Nokere, which is a foreign woman, a harlot, a foreigner, an unknown, an unfamiliar, which is in reality just a strange woman. Because what makes her an alien, what makes her strange, she ain't got no Elohim. That's what makes her strange, and that's what makes her an alien. And you ain't supposed to give your wealth to them type of women. He says, shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil, to transgress against our Elohim, and marrying strange wives? You gonna marry an unfamiliar woman? And this also goes to the point what the brother mentioned last night with this. And of course, y'all have already mentioned it was in the text. This is a part of the reason why the kids spoke in the Ashdod's language and not in the Yahudim's language. If you any type of man, 99.9% of the time, you're going to be laboring in order to provide some type of sustenance for your family, which means the woman is going to spend more time with the offspring than you are. So she has to have the ability. This is why Timothy's mother and grandmother are referenced by Paul as forth as being an extender of the faith that is in him. Let me grab that for those of you who are not familiar of what I speak. Come over here to 1 Timothy, I believe, or it might be 2 Timothy. I'll sort it out in a moment. Thank the Lord. It's 2 Timothy chapter 1. We straight on here to it. You can pick it up in 2 Timothy chapter 1 and 1. Because the importance of the heritage and the culture, so to speak, is going to fall at the woman's feet to an extent to be able to impart that. And if you are a Yahudim and your wife is of Ashdod, she cannot impart Yahudim's culture unto your son. That's not her culture. She's not going to have the ability to do that. So that makes absolutely no sense. You're going to turn over, because remember, what did we talk about Wednesday and we talked about the week before? Who does this firstborn son belong to? It belongs to Yahuwah. Firstborn son belongs to Yahuwah. He said the firstborn son is your strength, the excellency of your dignity, and the beginning of your strength. And you're going to say that my legacy, I don't care about it. That would be like Elohim marrying Satan. That's the equivalence of that. Why would he marry the devil? That makes no sense. See, you can't be in your feelings and get caught up in no flesh. You're talking about, so you saying that what, you hate white people or Africans or this, that, there, and the third? That just shows that you have a small reference point of understanding in your mind if you automatically went to carnal. I remember telling Brandon when he home, boy, I said, you have a sixth fixation with Caucasians, because every time something mentioned, you mention them. Ain't nobody mentioning people. Ain't nobody talking about them people. They're not the only people on the earth. You know what I'm saying? You're just talking about period. I don't care who you are. You could be a Yahudim by blood, your doggone self. But if you don't worship Yahuwah, you are a stranger, you are unfamiliar. Don't fool with whores. It's the point. Leave whores alone. They're going to be unfamiliar. They're going to be strange. And you're going to throw your wealth down a money pit that can never be returned. And you're going to turn around and say, I was a dummy. I should have listened to my teachers. But I don't listen because I'm stupid. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and 1. Paul, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach by the will of Elohim, according to the promise of life, which is in Mashiach Yahushua. To Timothy, my dearly beloved son, grace, mercy, and shalom from Elohim Abba and Mashiach Yahushua our Lord. I thank Elohim whom I serve from my forefathers with a pure conscience, that without ceasing I have remembrance of you in my prayers night and day, greatly desiring to see you, being mindful of your tears, that I may be filled with joy. When I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I'm persuaded that in you also. Now, you have to sit back and look at that. Paul's referencing this here because clearly this young man, as a man, of course, your father is the one who's going to instruct you in the way of Yahuwah. But of course, for the formative years of a child, who are they going to spend the most time around? You're going to spend the most time around their mother. So that mother is going to have a strong influence on that child. See, now that's something that a lot of women in this day and time don't want to take account for. If you want to look at certain behavioral issues that your son may have, then you're going to have to look in the mirror and look at your doggone self because you the one spent the most time with him. Would you agree? For the most part, that woman is the one who spends the most time with that child. So whatever issues that child may or may not have, you as a woman going to have to look yourself in the mirror and say, did I contribute in any way possible to whatever issues that this young man may have that I don't particularly care for? You know what I'm talking about? And that's a hard pill to swallow. That's a hard pill to swallow. Because it's easier just to blame the child. When you're going to have to look at how did you interact with this child? How you interact with this child is going to be a strong determination of how this child is going to conduct themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to spend the most time with them. And if you are servant of Elohim, then what you think is going to be imparted unto the children in your household while your husband working, so he can get back in here to teach them who he is. That also shows you that those men weren't teaching them kids nothing about Yahuwah. That also shows you that. So that's a double whammy because he can't get nothing from Mom Dukes and then Pops ain't giving him nothing. Come on back over here let's come over here to Ezra 8, I believe. I told you if we're going to talk about that Proverbs 5, then we're going to talk about it then. It's Ezra 9, I believe. We ain't going to just gloss over it. I'm trying to see if I want to even just run down. I'm going to have to. Ezra chapter 9 and verse 1. Now, when these things were done, the princes came to me saying, the people of Yasharal, the priests, the Levites, have not separated themselves from the people of the land, doing according to their abominations, even to the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. Now, he says separate. What did we just read in that 2 Corinthians 6? Come out from among them and be you separate. See, that's Isaiah 52. See, now you done forgot Leviticus 20. I've severed you from other people that you could be mine. Now you done forgot John 6 and 17. Sanctify them through their work, through your word. Your word is truth. He said, I sanctified myself through the word, through the truth, that they might sanctify themselves by the truth. See, you're going to have to separate yourself from the people of the land, which means you're going to have to separate yourself from unbelievers, which means you can't do what Eve did and hearken unto the voice of an unbeliever. See, that's what Yasharal has done. So you thinking we just talking about Eve, and Eve is representative of Yasharal. You have fellowship with the works of darkness and unbelievers. You sit down with idolaters and you hearken unto their words. and you gave your wealth unto another. See, we don't talk about it because we still got to talk about those glistering stones in the temple in 1 Chronicles 29. By the grace of Elohim, I ain't forgot. But if we're going to talk about him forsaking Shiloh, before we can even get to the Mount Zion, which he chose, and this, that, there, and the third, we got to talk about everything that's going to get you there. Let's keep on rolling. He said, for they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons. Listen what he said, that the Kadesh seed have mingled themselves with the people of the lands. Yea, the hand of the princes of rulers have been chief in this trespass. Uh-oh. Well, let's sit back and look at it, right? So now I want you to understand that who you are as an individual, that you have a sanctified seed. Now I'm going to show you, sit back and show you something else on that there in regards to Mashiach himself. We're going to look at mingled, right? That's Arab. See, this means to fellowship or to share, but also means to pledge, mortgage, or exchange. You've exchanged, or more than likely, you've had fellowship. Ayin, Rosh, and Ba. You know the son of Elohim, but yet you have fellowship with the people of the land. You know what you done? You done did what Esau did. You done swapped your birthright out so you could be down with these people. You swapped your birthright out so you could be down with the devil. When I'm talking about down with the devil, I'm talking about down with the devil who gonna have an idol that can live and that can talk. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you really supposed to be paying attention to. You're gonna give your wealth to another, dummy. Don't be no jackass. Oh, you thought this was just literally talking about some vagina. See, if you done hopped on this channel and you ain't, and if you thought that means you either ain't been around here for a while or you just don't know no better. Because we ain't just talking about no woman with no vagina. You can get vagina from anywhere. That ain't nothing to get no vagina. To hear Kevin Samuel say that junk don't matter as long as you have a wife, that's how women talk, my G. I don't care how much you can agree. Look here, right? One thing you got to be able to, just because you agree with a man in some areas don't mean you can't disagree with him and let that be known. And boy, when I hear a grown man say, boy, it don't matter as long as you got a wife, that's how women talk. That's not how men talk. I ain't never heard of my man in my life say, a piece of woman better than no woman. I done definitely heard women in some form of fashion say a piece of man is better than no man. So when you hear women say, as long as I got a husband, I done heard women say, as long as I got a husband. Boy, to hear a grown man say, man, as long as you got a wife, boy, that's not how men talk. That's not how men think. Long as I got a wife. Nigga, just because you married to this woman don't mean she a wife. I heard niggas again, they always love to quote that, he that findeth a wife. See, the assumption is she was a wife when he found her. See, don't try to take this man's word and try to interlope it with the time period you live in now, boy. Because number one, they don't even know when they say good. Of course, y'all know that's what? That's told. That means that's something that's pleasant and agreeable. So the thing that he found that was good is a pleasant and agreeable woman. And that only just because she was a wife, she should have been pleasant and agreeable anyway. But see, the thing is not the fact that the man found the wife, because of course, you know, we didn't talk about that in regards of Mashiach and Yasharal, because that's really what they're talking about, because he said, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain the favor of Yahuwah. That means Yahuwah is going to delight in him, and therefore he will increase him. Because marriage is honorable to him. So when Mashiach found his wife, because he said, I am here to seek the lost sheep of the house of Yasharal, I have found my wife, who has went astray, as dealing with the priest from Bethlehem, Yehuda, who went after his concubine, who was lost, and he had to find his wife in order for Yahuwah to find him favorable and delightful in his eyesight. He will increase you, because that's what Yahuwah do. He's a keeper of his covenants. This is why he has a distaste and a disdain for covenant breakers. Do not enter into contracts that you do not plan to keep. Keep your word. That's why you don't have to give vows at a wedding. That's asinine. The contract in and of itself states to that. He didn't make them people give no vows in the wilderness. He presented them a contract and they said, we'll do it. Vow for what? Swear for what? Your word should stand on its own. I know y'all were told that as a gent. You ain't got to do all that swearing. That's what my big homie told me. What he say? And you know, that's just the nigga talking to neighbor. Boy, I swear to God, boy. Y'all have mercy on his soul. That nigga used to tell me all the time, boy, the truth stand on itself. What you swearing for? That's what Yahushua told you, didn't it? Let your what? He say anything else proceed what? Evil. Truth stand on its own. You got to do all that. Well, if you know you're telling the truth, you ain't going to spend time trying to convince nobody. You can believe what you want to believe, nigga. I don't care. I ain't got time to clean nothing up for you or clear up this, that, there, and the third. I don't give a damn. Most people not, but that's when you're comfortable and secure in who you are as a man. You don't feel no need to do that. Most of us feel the need to do that. Do it for what? Do it for why? I don't understand. Drink Bud Dry. That's what the thing say. Why? Ask why. Drink Bud Dry. Come on back over here, man. What it is? Mingled. I got mingled. We don't need nothing else. I think I like this here. Y'all know what Kadai seed is. That is Zerah. That's a set apart seed, boy. That's sacred seed. Don't you understand that if you born of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, boy, you possess sacred seed? Your seed sacred to this man. You should know that dealing with Mashiach, boy. That's sacred seed. What he told you to do. He said, don't go to the way of the Gentiles and Samaritans, enter ye not. But go into the lost sheep of the house of Yasharal. That's sacred seed. The seed is the word. That's sacred seed. He said, I can't cast these pearl before swine. They couldn't get it till it was time for them to get it, for them to get that sacred seed. But see, that's another conversation. Because they get brought in later. But how am I going to get a sacred seed to another before I get it to mine? He said, you got to enjoy the wife of your youth. They don't want to hear all that. Verse 3, Ezra chapter 9. When I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle and plucked off the hair of my head and of my beard and sat down to stony. They were assembled unto me, every one that trembled at the word of the Elohim of Yasharal, because of the transgression of those that had been carried away. I sat astonied until the evening sacrifice. At the evening sacrifice, I arose up from my heaviness, having rent my garment and my mantle, and I fell upon my knees and spread out my hands unto Yahuwah my Elohim. Now again, why is Nehemiah and Ezra so upset? Because this leads to idolatry. Him telling you not to marry other nations of people had nothing to do with nothing other than refraining from idolatry. Because one thing about men, boy, you're weak for that monkey. And if she say, I want to put an Ashtaroth pole up in the room, baby, niggas gonna do it. Niggas gonna do it. You know what I'm talking about? It's too much stuff. That's why we don't talk. That's why he say don't give your strength to no woman. It is not your duty in life to keep that woman satisfied and happy, because it's an impossible endeavor. It cannot be done. Her emotions are too fickle for you to be able to keep a woman happy at all times. You're not going to be able to do it. She ain't going to never be satisfied. You're running a race that can't be won. Because the finish line going to keep getting pushed 10 yards back and 10 yards back. The only way you can keep a woman happy is if she's happy with you. Other than that, you can't do it. And you can't live your life trying to do it. Man, niggas go broke trying to keep women satisfied. Niggas be working 2-3 jobs to get their woman what she want. What does she give you, nigga? What do you get out of the deal? You don't get no, I ain't even talking about no vagina. You don't get no service. You don't get no duty. You don't get no peace. You don't get nothing. That's not what Ronald Isaac said. What did Ronald Isaac say? I don't know all his records offhand. I know that's why Jaheim looked like he's smoking rocks, because he told you to put that woman first. Look what happened. That nigga was a gypsy driver. That don't mean you ain't supposed to love your woman and this, that, there, and the third, because, of course, that's just being stupid. You know what I'm talking about? But y'all know exactly what we talking about. Y'all know exactly what we talking about. Dudes live a whole life to please the woman, and the woman never does anything for him. When she was created to serve and to please him, i.e., man was created to serve and please whom? To please Yahuwah, it's the same thing. And of course, a woman who delights in serving her husband, he's going to delight in giving her the desires of her heart. It's even swap, no swindle. It's even swap, no swindle. We didn't talk about this before. It's a gradual process in the natural versus in the spiritual. The woman is always supposed to be coming closer and closer to having the mind of her husband, not being a man, but being on one accord with the heartbeat, vision, and movements of her husband. So you can't take her having your mind as she's going to be a man. She's not going to ever be a man. Stop looking for her to be a man. We've already talked about this in 1 Peter 3 and 7. You're supposed to dwell with the weaker vessel according to knowledge, and you're supposed to have enough knowledge to know her frame is but dust. So you're supposed to already know that she's an emotional creature who's going to need a different type of interaction. And if you don't understand that, then you're not fit to lead. So there's no other way that I can put that. Because we've talked about this before. It say, Yahuwah knoweth our frame, but we are but what? Dust. So he's going to give you the mind of Elohim so that you are in one accord or ikad with his vision and his purpose in order to fulfill it. But this man is not crazy to sit back and think you're not ruach yet. You're still flesh and blood. So he knows that you're going to be privy to the things that a flesh and blood creature is privy to. Therefore, he can have pity, aka compassion on you. Because that's what that pity translates to, the word that means compassion. So as a man, yes, your woman is supposed to be becoming one mind with you, meaning working lockstep in your vision and fulfilling your vision. But she's not going to think like you, and she's not going to move like you. That is an emotional being. That is an emotional being. She's never not going to be emotional, and you're supposed to have enough compassion in the scenarios and situations that call for you to have it. That's why these niggas be on the internet crying about women all day, because they're not understanding a woman is a woman. It's not a negative. It's not a positive. It just is what it is. A woman is a woman. That's why they get mad at the men, because they know a man. See, this is like this here, right? Some women can't pinpoint what makes a man a man. But they know they can for sure know when they ain't looking at one. You know what I'm talking about? And it may take him a little second in a little season, because we just talking about this because he's, especially when they're young, it take him a little second in a little season. But something inside him tell him, a man ain't supposed to act like this. A man ain't supposed to do this. This ain't what men do. And what mess young men up is, while she's sorting out that she knows something ain't right, she still be fooling with you. So you get emboldened in your stupidity that it's okay for you to act like this because she don't know that she's supposed to get the hell out of there. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't understand that because she's enamored with whatever she's enamored with. See, you expect it when they in their teens and their early 20s. You look at her like she a damn fool when she in her 30s and doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know if you in your 30s and doing this, somebody got you like this back in your 20s and you still ain't learned nothing. You was a dumb hoe. That means you ain't got nothing to tell the younger children. You know what I'm saying? I just on the video to my homegirl just to show her this here when she was talking about that same video I put in the chat for y'all to see while that lady was talking about that black women think actually contributing to the plan is building a man if she got to put some money into what he got going on because she's too stupid to realize she gonna get it on the back end if this man has a defined vision and plan for what he's seeking to do, and he's asking you to contribute to it, and you thinking you building a man because you ain't built no man, nigga, because you didn't build the plan that he was asking you to participate in. And guess what Yahuwah asked you to do? To contribute to the things to further his plan, did he not? So I guess you built the God too, you big dummy. I ain't talking about none of y'all. I'm just talking about people who think like that. Because somebody going to come on here who think like that, and Yahuwah want them to know that they're stupid. You know what I'm saying? How you going to build the man who put the plan together and telling you this is what I need you to contribute to the plan? And you feel like, I don't want to contribute that. I shouldn't have to contribute anything. Then you don't get to reap the benefits of it. And that's what's wrong with most people. You want to reap the benefits of things that you don't contribute to when the benefit is going to be directly to you when you are directly intertwined with the individual who has a benefit to extend. What type of human being are you? You're a horrible person. If no one has told you that, you are a horrible person. You're despicable. You're rotten. You're incorrigible. Ezra chapter 9, verse 6. And said, O my Elohim, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to you, O my Elohim. For our iniquities have increased over our head, and our trespasses grown up under Shamahim. Since the days of our fathers have we been in great trespass unto this day, and for our iniquities have we, our kings, our priests, been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands, to the sword, to captivity, and to spoil, and to confusion of face, as it is this day. And now for a little space, grace have been showed from you who are Elohim to leave us a remnant to escape, and to give us a nail in this Kadash place. I guess that's self-explanatory. That our Elohim may lighten our eyes and give us a little reviving in our bondage, because he was a light to the world to open your eyes. A little reviving in your bondage is Yah, preservation of life. The quick of the flesh, live flesh, tender raw flesh, mean, Kai, Yod, and Hey. Now, we just read this the other day. He say, in the flesh that I will give, the bread that I will give is what? My flesh. And he just sat back and said he left the quick of the flesh. Well, what does quick mean? Quick, it means to make alive. Live flesh, preserve life, recover. See, that's a beautiful thing. We might revert back to that. We're just not going to do it tonight. For we were bondmen, yet our Elohim have not forsaken us in our bondage, because he that commits sin is the servant of sin. But if the Son shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. But have extended us mercy in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us reviving, to set up the house of Elohim, to repair the desolations thereof, and to give us a wall in Yehuda and Jerusalem. And now, O our Elohim, what shall we say after this? We have forsaken your commandments, which have commanded by your servants the prophets, saying, the land which you go to possess it is an unclean land, with the filthiness of the people of the lands, with their abominations which have filled it from one end to another with their uncleanliness. Now therefore give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace or their wealth forever, that you may be strong and eat the good of the land, and leave it for an inheritance to your sons forever. And after all that has come upon us for our evil deeds and for this great trespass, seeing that you, our Elohim, have punished us less than our iniquities deserve, and have given us such deliverance of this, shall we again break your instructions and join in affinity with the people of these abominations? Would not you be angry with us all till you had consumed us, so that there should be no remnant nor escaping? O Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, you art righteous, for we remain yet escaped as it is this day. Behold, we are before you in our trespasses. We cannot stand before you because of this. Now, there's many things to unpack there, and tonight we cannot unpack them, unfortunately. Yahuwah willing in its time. Kathan is what you have here when you have affinity, and you know what that means? To become a son-in-law and to make oneself a daughter's husband. To make oneself a daughter. Oh, when he said affinity, you done married a strange woman. You done became a husband of a strange woman. Nigga, you's a fool. Come on back over here to Proverbs Chapter 5. And that's why what he talking about crazy. Now, some people look at it, well, most of these men out here, they don't serve Yahuwah anyway. And shoot, they ain't doing it now. And you marry a strange woman, you sure ain't gonna do it. Because I can tell you this right now, it is going to be very, very rare. I'm talking about very, very rare that you going to run across a strange woman and both of y'all don't serve Yahuwah, and Yahuwah going to spark her brain to bring you to him. I put money on that ain't going to happen. You know what I'm talking about? That's not going to happen. He ain't going to use no something, because how she going to give you something that her forefathers ain't got? How he going to spark her brain? That ain't how that works. He going to spark the brain of his offspring, and his offspring spark the brains of the others. That's not how that works. That is not how that works. Proverbs 5, verse 3. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb. Her mouth is smoother than oil. We already seen that with the devil in the beginning, did we not? I'm going to get you that strange woman. Of course, y'all know that's Zer. That's a stranger. Strange woman, a prostitute, a harlot. One who is alienated. And that's what you have to sit back and look at that in the spiritual aspect. Satan is alienated from Yahuwah. He's reprobate. He's worthless. He's alienated from Yahuwah. And you've seen that in Genesis 3. His words were, because all this is going back to him having to forsake Adam, because Adam listened to her, who listened to him, whose words were smoother than oil. Listen what he tell you now. For her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold on hell. Lest you should ponder the path of her life, her ways are movable, that you cannot know them. Well, let's look at movable. Movable here is nuar. That means they tossed around. They shake and disturb. They cause to wonder. See, now that take you back to Ephesians, that you don't be tossed to and fro with all winds of doctrine for those who look to deceive. Now, I'm going to give you Ecclesiastes 7 on the house. It is coming from Solomon himself. Some of y'all know what Ecclesiastes 7 and 26 say. This is why you can't be giving your strength unto a woman. This is why Yahushua, because if Yahushua would have gave his strength over to Yasharal, he wouldn't escape. See, we don't look at Ecclesiastes 7 and 26 in a multitude of ways. You look at it with a man to a woman. We've looked at it as Babylon unto the world, and we looked at it as Mashiach unto Yasharal. Some of y'all were present for when we looked at that as regards to Babylon, her being more bitter than death, and her hands being the snares and nets. Ecclesiastes 7 and 26, but you can make it 25. How many of y'all recall when we looked at this in regards to Babylon? It's been some years, I can tell you that. I applied my heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and the reason of things, to know the wickedness of folly and foolishness and madness. And I find more bitter than death the woman, whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands are as bands. Whoso please Elohim shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. See, Yahushua escaped from her, because he escaped the grave. See, Adam didn't escape from her. He was taken by her. He was taken by death. Remember, he gave his strength over unto captivity. He was taken by death. Because that woman's hearts were snares and nets, and her hearts was his band. She's always going to try to get you caught up in what it is that she wants to do. As a man, you can't do it. Now, if you please Elohim, he's going to allow you to escape that level of servitude. But that's why he say her ways are immovable, that you can't know them. If you ain't up on game, you ain't going to peep it. That's why he told you to what? Attend unto his what? Wisdom. Bow down your ear to his what? His understanding. You can see it coming. Going back to what Paul said, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, that we should be falling victim of them. I done told you, man, Satan's devices are very, very simple. And one of the biggest devices that Satan uses that is effective is division. This is his biggest device, is to cause a divide. That's why he told you, Yahuwah told you, in Proverbs 6, that what does he find abominable? Him that sows what? Discord among brethren. That is an attribute of Satan. That's why he told you in Job 41, he say what? His scales stick together, no air can come between them. That's why Paul wrote and told you ain't no schisms in the body. That's why Mashiach told you that we may be perfect in one, because Satan cannot operate in a place of unity. That's why he say, behold, how beautiful to see brethren in unity. Satan can't operate in that, because where there's unity, there's love. And where there's love, there's Elohim. He can't operate in an environment of love. Satan cannot operate in an environment of love. I'm telling you that right now. He can't operate in it, because he is a chaos maker. And love does not bring forth chaos. Love brings order. It doesn't bring disorder. So therefore, that's why he likes division, because division brings disorder. That's why he loves it. He thrives on it. I'm just sit back and pause for a moment and just sit there and let that resonate in your mind as you so that you can think upon examples in the text. You understand? When you look at some of the examples in the text, when you look at Saul, did Saul lead with love? And what did you see going on in his realm. Confusion and chaos. When you seen when David ruled, what was the difference? He led with love. There was no chaos and confusion until he had to bear the recompense of slaying Uriah the Hittite. You understand? When you sit back and you look in the text, wherever Satan is trying to cause people to be separated. Because that's how he's able to wreak havoc. Anywhere where you see love established, Satan can't wreak havoc. That's why Satan feeds off jealousy. That's why he feeds off envy. And that's why he feeds off covetousness. Because when you're looking at these other people and you jealous of what they got, or you envying what they got, or you coveting in what they got, that will cause you to not be united with your brother. And therefore that means love doesn't exist. And he don't love his brother is the same as a what? A murderer. We already talked about that when we were talking about Abel and Cain. Yes, sir. Proverbs 22:10 tell you to cast out the scorner. That's exactly what the Lord did. He cast out the scorner, and the strife and contention ceased. Because now there was no more strife and contention between you and Elohim. He got rid of it. I'm going to tell you this here, because the text tell you that Elohim is love. He's an Elohim of love. He does not dwell in those environments. He doesn't dwell in a place of chaos. Love cannot dwell in chaos and confusion. That's why I told y'all there's no such thing as racism. All they're trying to do is to keep people divided. You keep people divided, the love of Elohim cannot resonate and spread. Can't happen. Why do you think you see all this stuff, whether it's vaccinated, non-vaccinated, sissy against heterosexual, man against woman, this, that, there, and the third? All that stuff is to keep love out to play. Love does not exist in an environment of division. Love exists in unity. See, but people don't know Satan devices. That's why y'all fall victim to all this stuff these people got going on, because you don't know Yahuwah. You know Yahuwah. Yahuwah is love all the way around the board. When have you ever seen Yahuwah going out seeking to separate and destroy? He already told you, what does Satan come to do? Steal, kill, destroy. Does that sound like in an environment where love is operating? Absolutely not. Proverbs Chapter 5. And he told you, you better ponder the path of life. I didn't want y'all to think about that one there, what he stated right here in Proverbs 5 and 6. He said, well, you better ponder the path of life. And ponder, of course, is palas. And that's the way out. Better weigh it out. That's pay lamad and samad. Better grab hold to the words of the shepherd and weigh that out. 5 and 7, Proverbs. Hear now, O therefore, O you sons. Depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove your way far from her, and come not near the door of her house. Listen what he say. Lest you give your honor unto another's, and your years unto the cruel. When you look at cruel, you're looking at something that's forfeits as a career, and that is literally cruel or terrible. Now, what have you done? You gave your years to the cruel. You gave it over because you didn't want to serve your Elohim in your own land, but you wanted to serve a God, other gods. He gonna let you serve a God that you don't know in a land that's not yours. Now you've given your life over to the cruel. But we're gonna get to the main. This is what he said: let strangers be filled with your wealth, and your labors be in the house of a stranger. And you mourn at the last when your flesh and body is consumed. Now, this is where we get to have a little bit of fun. We done ran down verses 1 through 11. Can anybody tell me how that relates to Yahushua HaMashiach? I don't care which verse you use, but whatever verse you use, if you're going to put it in this chat, if you don't follow directions, your response will be ignored. I'm just telling you that right now. If you don't listen closely and follow these directions, your response is going to be ignored. Again, I state, if you do not follow the directions, your response is going to be ignored. Now, we just read from Proverbs chapter 5, verse 1 to verse 11. Now, whatever one of those verses in 1 through 11 you choose to explain, that is your choice. You will need to list what verse you're using And then your scriptural responses, meaning just don't type no words unless you don't know book and chapter and verse, and that's fine. And you can put the words, but you're going to have to give a scriptural justification for the verse that you're seeking to explain. And you must list what verse you are referring to from verses 1 through 11 as they pertain to the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. And you can use multiple verses if you so choose. I'll give you a few moments to think upon that before I share. Because I got to take it back to why we're even here in the first place, which is Psalm 78 and 60. Still pumping a little bit. I'll take your time. Let your conscience be free. If it's a little tough for you, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Just let me know. But you got 11 verses to choose from. Let me know which verse stands out to you that you are able to explain, which is relevant to the witness of the sufferings of Yahushua HaMashiach. We're approaching the 37th minute. So I'll give you about another 2 minutes to ponder. And then we'll have to get on rolling down the river. So at 1 hour and 39 minutes is when I'll ask if anyone has anything to add. And then we'll just go from there. Right now, it don't look like nobody got nothing to add. And that's okay. That is okay. Got a minute? Got 1 minute, and then Ducky Fresher on. Or was it 6 minutes? Either way it go. You got a minute. Well, really, you have 40 seconds. I don't look like nobody gonna pop nothing out here forward, man. Oh, good grief. You got 23 seconds. Well, let me do this here, since ain't nobody came up with no verse. What verse do you feel like you said Proverbs 5 and 1, Luke 2, 45 and 46. Very well then, sir. Very well. I will allow it. You can also, with Proverbs 5 and 1, you can take that to John chapter 12, verses 44 through whatever conclusion of that was. Well, let's look at Luke 2:45 and 46, if we would. And they turned when they found him not, and they turned back again to Jerusalem, seeking him. And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. Now, see, that was a little different because he was hearing them. He wasn't attending unto their wisdom. They were really attending unto his and didn't realize it. I said, but we will allow it. We would really take this one here to John 12 and to 44. That's Acts 12, so that ain't gonna work. I'll drop down. That's really about verse 49. For I have not spoken of myself, but Abba which sent me, he gave me a commandment, what I should say and what I should speak. And I know that his commandment is life everlasting. Whatsoever I speak, therefore, even as the Father said unto me, so I speak. So we'll just use that as an example that he has attended unto his Father's wisdom and bowed his ear to his understanding. That has Proverbs 5:5. Her feet go down to death and her steps take hold of hell. And you got John 13:8. So let's take a look at that. So when we come to John chapter 13 and we look at verse 8, Peter said unto me, you shall never wash my feet. Yahushua answered him, if I wash you not, you have no part with me. Now that one's a little different because we're going to look at that, right? He says her feet go down to death and her steps take hold to hell. So let's look at steps. The app is not participating. So when we look at steps, what you have here is you have sa'ad, and that's steps or course of life. What you have here is you have Sa'ad, Ayin, and Dalet. This is an individual who knows the way of sacrifice, but they have rejected it. So also in this instance, we could take this strange woman and let her be Judas. Because her steps, her feet go down to death. Let's take a look at her feet going down to death because it's the steps and course of life. So when we look at her feet, that is regal, which is the word for feet. Your rod is to go down. Methay is for death, and that is what you know, or descend or decline for your rod. So we know that that's what happened with Judas. How do we know his steps took hold of hell? Because he was a thief and a robber. We've seen that in his attributes. His course of life has made that be known. Because he said her end is bitter as wormwood and sharp as a two-edged sword. If you don't know what wormwood is, that is lama, and that is bitterness. Poisonous and therefore accursed. Well, we know that Mashiach's end was as wormwood, according to what? Cursed be he who hangeth on a tree, and it was sharp as a two-edged sword, or piercing a vendor to the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. As forth is the word, because it was sharp, his end. Of course, you know he was pierced in his side, that there in the third. So this is what we should come down to. About verse 7. He said, don't depart from the words of his mouth. This is Proverbs 5:10, by the way. And he said, remove your way far from her and don't come near to her house, lest you give your honor to another and your years unto the cruel. Come over here to Ezekiel chapter 3. I want you to look at that as forth as giving your years to the cruel. Because see, this is a cruel people. You know how cruel you got to be to even give over your God to another group of people for them to slay him? Actually, Ezekiel 2. You can pick it up at verse 5. Oh, I'm sorry. You can make it 1. It ain't going to hurt nobody. And he said unto me, son of man, stand upon your feet, and I will speak unto you. The Ruach entered into me when he spake unto me and set me upon my feet, and I heard him that spake unto me. He said to me, son of man, I send you to the sons of Yasharal, to a rebellious nation that have rebelled against me. And they and their fathers have transgressed against me even unto this very day, because their hearts is as snares and nets, and their hands are like bands. They are impudent sons, stiff-hearted. I do send you to them. You shall say unto them, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim. And they, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there have been a prophet among them. And you, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words, though briars and thorns be with you. And though you dwell among scorpions, be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks. For though they be a rebellious house, and you shall speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they forbear, for they are most rebellious. Now, when we're dealing with Mashiach, did he give his honor unto another in his years to the cruel? Well, let's look and see if he gave his honors unto another. Because you are the strange woman. You understand? You know how you the strange woman? Because he said it's not, he said, you know, your Elohim is not, arms is not shortened that he cannot save, nor is his ears heavy that he cannot hear, but your sins of iniquities have separated you from your Elohim that he cannot hear. Where is your mother's bill of divorcement? Because remember, a strange woman is an alienated woman or a harlot. In Ezekiel 16, he told you that you were a harlot. So you the strange woman. And he gave his honor unto you. We already talked about that before. There's a man who maketh himself poor, yet have great riches. There's a man who have great riches, yet have nothing. And you have become rich through the poverty of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, that through his poverty you be made rich. Also, let's read this John 14, where he said he give his honor unto another. We know he gave his years unto the cruel, because he gave 3.5 years of his life to a cruel, rebellious, and disrespectful group of people. John 14, I believe that I desire. 14:10 is sufficient. Believe you not that I am in Abba, and Abba in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but Abba that dwell in me, he do the words. Believe that I am in Abba, and Abba in me, or else believe me for the work's sake. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that believe on me, and the works that I shall do, he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Abba. Now that was just a precursor. But how did he give his honor to another? Revelation 2:24. He said, he that overcome will I give him power to rule over the nations with a rod of iron, and break them into pieces like a potter's vessel, even as I received of my Father. Or how about this here? He that overcome will I cause him to sit in my throne, if I sit in my Abba's throne. Or how about this here? By the blood of Mashiach, he has redeemed you, that you may be kings and priests. He has given his honor, because he is the chief high priest, after the order of Melchizedek, and King of kings and Lord of lords, and he's given his honor unto you, the strange woman, the alienated woman. He had to be able to do this because he had to forsake his house in Shiloh, or his place of rest, and to give his strength into captivity in order to give his honor unto you. So therefore you ought to honor him. See, that's what things that a lot of people don't realize in this day and time, whether it be women, whether it be young men. You don't want to give honor to those who are extending their substance and the honor that they have unto you, because you feel you're entitled to it. No one, that people say, I need the love that I deserve. You don't deserve anything, because deserve means what you've got based off of what you've done. You're rewarded based. That's what deserve by definition means. I'll get you the definition for deserve. That's what deserve by definition means. Deserve does not mean you deserve it by reason of you exist. That's not what that means. The definition of deserve: something having shown or qualities worthy of reward or punishment. That means you have to do something. You have to do, when you say you deserve something, that means you got to do something. There's a lot of niggas don't do nothing. But yet they believe they deserve something. You deserve a swift kick in your butt. See, that's what he said. Remember, we just read it. He hasn't rewarded us. as our iniquities have deserved, even though the word deserve wasn't there. He ain't gave you what you actually should be rewarded for based off. That's what deserve means. You had to do something to show and exhibit the qualities worthy of what it is that you say that you want. If you don't show love, then you're not deserving of love. You have not shown that you have the qualities or done something that someone should give you love. You don't get love by reason of existence. You don't deserve riches. What have you done to show that you deserve them? What have you done? What qualities do you possess? See, that's the mind of a woman. That's not the mind of a man. A man don't be walking around here talking about I deserve. See, that's what Tank had these niggas messed up at. He said he deserved to be cheated on. But this the same nigga say he suck on glizzies and he ain't no sissy. Because he said he only did it once. Twice at the most, whatever that faggot nigga said. Y'all know what he said. Some of y'all used to listen to his music till he said that. And after that, you ain't want to listen no more. It's okay. It's okay if you enjoyed the musical stylings of a man named Tank. Come on back to Proverbs Chapter 5. I got to get ready to wrap this up. He said, let strangers be filled with your wealth and your labors be in the house of a stranger. Now, wealth here is koach. And y'all know what that is. That's strength. So he said, let your strength be in the house of a stranger. You can look at that in the natural instance. Let your firstborn be in the house of a stranger. But he said, let strangers be filled with your strength and your labors. Well, what is your labor? Asad, your pain, your hurt, your toil, your hardship. Now that changed the whole meaning, don't it? Let strangers be fulfilled with your strength and your pain and your hardship be in the house of a stranger. He talking about you. You got to remember, you were a stranger. Remember, we just read it. You were alienated from Allah. We just read it the other day. You were his enemy in Romans 5. You have to sit back and look at it. The minute that Adam and Eve did what they did, they became strangers to Elohim. They became strange to him. They alienated, they separated because he put them out of the garden. Now you strange to him. Listen what he said. And you mourn at the last. I'm exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death, when your flesh and body are consumed. Did not Mashiach's flesh and body be consumed? Were they not consumed? Y'all know flesh is basar, body is sha'ar, flesh, food, body, near kin, near kinswoman, flesh relation, blood relation. Shan, Aleph, Raj. See the consumption of the Son of the Highest. Mm. I want y'all to sit back and think about that. Do you understand what you're looking at, right? And look what he say here in verse 12. And say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof, and have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ear to them that instructed me? I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. And look what he tell you after that. Drink waters out of your own cistern and running waters out of your own well. Let your fountains be dispersed abroad and rivers of waters in the streets. Let them be only your own and not strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe, and let her breast satisfy you at all times, and you be ravished always with her love. Why will you, my son, be ravished with a strange woman and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before the eyes of Yahuwah, and he pondered all his goings. His own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. He shall die without instruction, and in greatness of his folly shall he go astray. Now let's turn around and let's look at that. Of course, you're looking at the part where Yahushua did listen, but look what he come back and tell you. So he say, drink waters out of your own cistern and running waters out of your own well. Well, what is the cisterns? That's bore. If you don't know what a cistern is, that is a pit, that is a well, that is a fountain. He said you need to drink waters out of your own pit, running waters out of your own well. Do we read Isaiah where he tell you to draw waters out the well of salvation and call on the name of Yahuwah? I think we do on general principle. Isaiah chapter 12. I hope you know what it says, but I just like Isaiah chapter 12. So I don't need an excuse. Isaiah chapter 12 and verse 1. And in that day you shall say, O Yahuwah, I will praise you, though you were angry with me. Your anger is turned away. You comforted me. Behold, Elohim is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for Yahuwah is my strength and my song. He has also become my salvation. Therefore, with joy shall you draw water out of the wells of salvation. And in that day you shall pray, say, hallelujah, call upon his name and declare his doings among the people and make mention that his name is exalted. John chapter 4. On general principle also. John chapter 4 on general principle also. John chapter 4, verse 7. Make it 6. I done told a page. We'll make it 5. Then he come to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Yahushua, therefore, being weary with his journey, sat on thus well, and it was about the 6th hour. There came a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yahushua said unto her, give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it you, being a Yahudim, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Yahudim have no dealings with the Samaritans. Yahushua answered and said unto her, if you knew the gift of Elohim and who it is that say to you, give me to drink, you would have asked of him, and he would have given you living water. The woman said unto him, sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From thence to have you have that living water. Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well, and drank thereof himself and his sons and his cattle? Yahushua answered and said unto her, whosoever drink of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drink of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be him a well of water springing up unto everlasting life. Now, again, we started this whole conversation talking about idolatry. And he telling you to drink waters out of your own pit and running waters out of your own well. He telling you to drink from the fountain. See, hold on. Jeremiah chapter 2. I just do it like that. Jeremiah chapter 2. Let's thank the Lord. Let's praise the Lord. Just Jeremiah chapter 2. We just do it like that. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 8. The priest said not, where is Yahuwah? They that handle the law knew me not. The pastors also transgressed against me. The prophets prophesied by Baal and walked after things that do not profit. Wherefore I will yet plead with you, saith Yahuwah, and with your son's sons will I plead. Do you see this strange woman who's continually drinking waters out of other pits and other wells? For pass over the isles of Shittim and see, send unto Kedar and consider diligently and see there be such a thing. Have a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods, but my people have changed their esteem for that which do not profit. Be astonished, O Shamahim, at this, and be horribly afraid. Be you very desolate, for my people have committed 2 evils. They have forsaken me, the fountains of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. Well, you drinking out of pits that can't even hold no water. We already read that in Psalms 115. These gods ain't got no life in them. You can look at that on the natural side, and you can look at that on the spiritual side. Spiritual side, he tell you, natural side, he tell you, man, stick with your own kind, cuz. Spiritually, though, speaking of himself, he's saying you need to drink water out of the fountain of living water, but you done forsook that for broken cisterns. Come on back over here. Let's look at the other thing, right? He said, let the fountains be dispersed abroad, rivers of waters in the streets. You can go read Ezekiel 47 for that. You can go read Revelation 22 for that. The river of life. Come on, look at it. Y'all don't think y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all might not think y'all might think this nigga's crazy. Come over here to Revelation 22 real quick. Like, we done read about this stuff before. That's why I try not to go back over it and be redundant. 22 and 16. You go read Ezekiel 47 on your own time, though. And you see if that water was filling up them streets. Same water he was telling you in Zechariah 14. Yahushua has sent my Malachim to testify unto you these things in the houses. I am the root and offspring of David, the bright and morning star. The Ruach and the bride say, come. Let him that hears say, come. Let him that is athirst come. And whosoever will, let him take of the water of life freely. And again, I just read that to encourage you to go read Zechariah 14 and Ezekiel 47 if you do not recall off the top. Returning back to Proverbs chapter 5. He said, let them be only your own and not strangers with you. And see, this is where this comes into play. When you look at only your own, that is bod, bot, dalit, alone, by itself, separation, apart. Also parts, limbs, legs. But more importantly, this is dealing with something that is in regards of something that has been sanctified. All mine are thine. We just talked about that the other day. Everything that is of Elohim belongs to Elohim. So when you sit back and he said, let them be of your own, that's why he say, I pray for them. I don't pray for the world. You have vessels for honor and you have vessels fitted for destruction. And those are for his and not for strangers with you. That's why I say my word, he say, you hear them not because you are not an Elohim. He say, tell us if you be the Mashiach or not. He said, I told you. He said, I told you. He said, let your fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth. Well, the wife of your youth is Eve, which means it's Yasharal. And that's who Mashiach is going to rejoice with. The bride of the Lamb. Ain't that what it is in Revelation 19? The marriage supper of the Lamb and the bride have made herself ready. That her loving behind and pleasant robe, that her breasts satisfy you at all times, and you be ravished always with a love. He said, why will you, my son, be ravished with a strange woman and embrace the bosom of a stranger? Why would you do that? Why would you embrace? Embrace here is kabak, which is to clasp, to embrace. Why would you embrace that whore Babylon? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you want to be ravished with a strange woman? Why would you want that type of love? What's wrong with you, boy? Ravish here is not what you think now. It's shagar. That means to be led astray. Also to be intoxicated, air, and drunkenness. They done drunk from the cup of the wrath of her fornication. Oh, y'all didn't think I knew what I was talking about. But praise be to Yahuwah, because he let us know what he talking about. Do you see that? He said, why will you, my son, be intoxicated or led astray with a strange woman to be one in the bosom of a stranger? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's why I said that him saying, go get you a woman of another nationality, that's folly, because Yahuwah don't even teach that. He don't even teach that. That's not something that he teaches. If the woman ain't in line, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Because I'm going to be in line. See, that's the biggest problem. Dude worry about what the woman ain't doing. I ain't worried about what the woman ain't doing. I got to be worried about what I'm doing. You know what I'm talking about? I got to be worried about what I'm doing. So that when I step down, she ain't going to have no choice but to respect it. You know what I'm saying? See, that's no different. See, what that is akin, because again, that's akin to being feminine. Because like when a woman ain't doing her job, she going to be worrying about what her man doing. That make her feel better about what she ain't doing because she giving all her energy into what he doing. But see, if you are a grade A woman, you're not going to be, and when I'm talking about worrying about what he doing, if you already sitting out here worrying about if this person is talking with this person or with that person, you might be dealing with the wrong person. Now, of course, In general, you can't trust a woman when she leave your eyesight because they're rebellious and conniving creatures. This man just told you that. And you would have to understand that all of you were not raised to be daughters of Zion from your conception and your inception into this earthly realm. You know what I'm saying? So you already, by the nature of a woman, which is i.e. the nature of a man, and his service to Yahuwah, you have proclivities to rebelliousness and selfishness. You know what I'm saying? Because man is inclined to worship himself, especially when he has free reign. See, you talk about, well, the women do this and the women do that, but you the woman, because you are his body, you are his bride, and you're inclined. Remember, I keep telling y'all this, told you this for years, because Jose Fo show you this. He wants to show you a mirror of how you're serving him so you will tighten up. It ain't about making her tighten up. She's going to respect power and authority. So she's going to yield to whoever has power and authority in her presence. Now, we were talking about this the other day. Most women going for the money. I don't care what none of y'all say. You can say how much you love a nigga and this, that, there, and the third, but that's just a bunch of junk that you tell niggas to make niggas feel good. And if you stupid enough to believe that a woman love you that much, I got some desert land to sell you in the middle of the ocean. See, that is not as what is going to hold a woman steady if you ain't got no money and somebody do got some money. But if you are a man of noble character, and we're talking about noble character, I'm talking about what we were talking about in this text, kingly or godly character that has the ability to have a compass to direct her unto righteousness, she'll stay in over that nigga who got some money if she got some sense. If she got some sense, because women are, see, you can have money, but women are attracted to power. And most women on this planet, whether they have understanding of the text, attach power to godliness, and they will gravitate to that before they gravitate to a nigga with some money. You know what I'm talking about? Because most men, you don't really understand that. That woman going to use you for as long as she can benefit from you. And if she can't benefit from you, she will depart. Because she's a survivalist. She's going to seek to survive. That's the same way your flesh operates. Your flesh will stay with Yahuwah as long as you feel like it benefits you. And if he take you through some manner of tribulation or persecution, you going to depart because you're going to feel like there's no survival for you here. If you're not rooted. These are realities of life. You don't need to sit there like, I wouldn't do that. My woman wouldn't do that. You're lying to yourself. And Yahuwah will show you quick, fast, in a hurry that you're lying to yourself and that you're not dealing in reality, and you're going to be crushed because you done put your trust and faith in somebody that you ought not have done that with. And when we talk about ought not done that with, not that you shouldn't be able to trust your wife or you shouldn't be able to trust your husband, but you have put a man above what is written of him to be. That's what the text tell you not to do, to not look at man above that which is written. The minute you be going to put somebody on a pedestal, you best believe you who are going to snatch them off that pedestal right before your face. And you should never put no woman on no pedestal because that's just foolish. You know what I'm saying? That is just foolish all the way around the board. You should never do that because you're going to end up disappointing yourself because you're going to have expectations for somebody that they cannot ever meet. So just don't do it and you won't find yourself in a mental upheaval. Just don't do it. Remember that, man? Paul told you that, man. He said, don't look above that which is written, because at the end of the day, everybody is flesh and blood, and they have the proclivities according to the gender of which they are currently assigned to by reason of birth. A woman is going to be a woman, and a man should be a man. You should not expect your man to be your girlfriend. And when it meaning you shouldn't expect him to interact with you like your girlfriends interact with you. You shouldn't expect him to do those things because you are expecting a man to be a woman. You will disappoint yourself every time because he's not a woman. He does not view the world as you do. You should not expect a woman to be a man. She does not view the world as you do. Elohim didn't come to you and expect you to be Elohim. He didn't come to you and do that. He knew you were a man. He knew you weren't going to be able to do that, but he wanted to and he had the patience to give you the instruction so that you could be able to be one with him, so that you could see things as he sees it, as forth as fulfilling his will. That is how you want your woman to think in order, and I told you that in the past, to fulfill your will. And that way your honor and your riches and your labor stays within your own house with your own woman. That's why you see that Mashiach did not extend any of these benefits to the Gentiles until after he had done that with his wife. You got to take care of your own before you can take care of somebody else. See, you can't do nothing for nobody else until your own straight. And see, that's not even talking about financially. You can't be a benefit to others. And see, that's the thing right here. That's why dudes don't like to talk about having no money, because if you ain't got no money, then usually you're not going to be useless. Meaning, if you don't have any fruit, if you don't have any joy, no love, no faith, how are you going to be of value to anyone else? How are you don't have anything to give. Because that's what the purpose of gaining resources for, is to be useful. We've had that conversation before. It's to be useful to others. Is to be useful to others. And most people have no desire to be useful to anyone other than themselves. And that's not the way of Yahuwah. That is not the way of Yahuwah. We're supposed to be able to be a useful aid to anybody when we are able. Sometimes you're not able, and sometimes you are. But then again, we're just not talking about financially, because he's talking about his honor, and his honor was his strength, which means his faith. He gave his faith into a house of strangers. You were alienated from Elohim, and he gave you his strength, and he gave you his pain, his toil, his labor. That's what he gave you. Because if you pay attention, that's what Adam was given on his way out the door, was it not? Still, this goes back to what we were talking about of him forsaking Shiloh, his place of rest, and how Wednesday we were talking about that with Adam, because everything that we're talking about, that's what Adam did. Because he gave all that to a stranger. See, you didn't even sit back and understand and peep this here. Well, they're not rivers of living water running through the Garden of Eden. Did he not give his pain and labors to another? He gave it to you. Because if Adam does not get kicked out the Garden of Eden, and therefore there is no new Jerusalem, which shall be as the Garden of Eden, or the paradise of Elohim, as it's described in the book of Revelation. He gave it to you, a stranger, because he did not know you. Which takes us back to what we were talking about with the Luke and the Genesis genealogy of tying Adam, Yahusha to Adam, and the son of Elohim to be able to give his strength. Because remember, he told you that he would toil and pain. With thorns and thistles shall the gut. That's pain, that's toil, that's hard labor, nigga. Oh, man, y'all didn't pay attention to none of that. But praise Yahuwah, though. We'll make it all make sense even more tomorrow, man. I bless y'all, the house of Elohim, in the name of Yahusha, man. Hallelujah for Yahusha. I appreciate y'all time this evening. Elohim is just good, and his wisdom is incomprehensible, and his understanding surpasses all level of comprehension and all manner of peace. Of that, you can be assured and guaranteed. But I bless y'all, the house of Elohim, in the name of Yahusha, man. I appreciate y'all time this evening. Yahuwah willing, man, we'll pick it up on the Shabbat, man. Make it do what it do. Prayerfully, some level of understanding we're given. Even though it might have seemed like we were going off the beaten path, we were not. Because even all that, what we were talking about in Nehemiah 13, Ezra chapter 9, and Proverbs chapter 5, still tied into what happened in Genesis. That was idolatry. When he said, you'll be as gods, that was idolatry. They began to worship themselves versus worshiping Elohim. It's the biggest mistake that people make. And just to go to show you, which I've always been telling y'all, irregardless, people want to talk about these last days, this, that, these people. Man, this junk coming down to who gonna worship Yahuwah and who ain't. It's gonna come down to idolatry, and people gonna have to pick a side. And prayerfully, you pick the right one. Roll with the side of Elohim, the true and living Elohim, and worship that which has life in it, and not worship that which has no life in it. Don't be no dummy. I know you wanted to be some old deep extra stuff, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who going to worship idols and who ain't. Preferably by the strength, mercy, grace, and love of Yahushua HaMashiach, by way of his Father in heaven, that each and every one of you will worship the living Elohim and not worship no idol. Yes, as he told you in the epistle to John, oh, my little children, be aware of idols. Stay away from idols because they out here. Whether you realize it or not, it's real easy falling out doubt. Hold on, I meant to read 1 Corinthians 15, and I ain't do it. I thank the Lord. It came to mind just now. We'll do it right now. 1 Corinthians 15, right? Just so you can see the context of what was being discussed. Now, in 1 Corinthians 15, what was being discussed before he makes this statement, I'm picking up at 29. He was talking about the resurrection of the dead, and men telling you that had not happened. He said, else why, what? This is 15 and 29, 1 Corinthians. Else what shall they do which are baptized for the dead if the dead rise not at all? Why are they immersed for the dead? Why stand we in jeopardy every hour? I protest you by your rejoicing, which I have in Mashiach Yahushua, our Lord, I die daily. If after the manner of men have I fought with the beast at Ephesians, what advantage it me if the dead rise not? Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. Awake to righteousness and sin not. For some have not the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. Now, what was his point? His point was the same thing of what we seen with Eve. He's talking about evil communications corrupt good conduct. And he just wasn't talking about somebody saying, hey, come smoke this doobie. He was talking about somebody saying something, overthrowing what you know Yahuwah told you. Who cares if this nigga over here said the dead don't rise? What did Yahuwah say? Who cares if Satan say you'll be a god if you eat from this tree? What did your husband tell you that Elohim said? That is what corrupts good manners. The evil communications is communications to overthrow your faith, to cause you to worship and something that you ought not, or to doubt the promise. Don't be no fool. I'm trying to tell you, man, this thing is simple, man. And it boils down to two things. Believe Yahuwah, serve Yahuwah, and don't serve no idols. That's it. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. Y'all gonna see more and more that people gonna be out here trying to overthrow your faith. See, y'all think I just be talking and this, that, there, and the third, but I'm just warning you what the man told you they gonna do. Your people gonna seek to overthrow your faith. You know what I'm talking about? They gonna want you to doubt. That ain't really gonna happen. You believe that? Come on now. Ain't nobody resurrecting for no dead. Man, look at, man, that idol is talking, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Well, that man rose from the dead. So what the Bible said this and said that. I don't know what you're talking about. Did you not see him get shot and he came back to life? That's Jesus. That's him. Y'all think it's a game. Arguing with these cornball super square behind niggas, man. Niggas ain't talking about nothing. They ain't hitting on nothing. They gonna have y'all here flabbergasted and deceived. And you're gonna be shrimp on the Barbie. That's what you're gonna be. Cooked to a crisp, nigga. Well done. Tender meat. Then he gonna wake up here and roast you again with maggots on you. That ain't what you want. That ain't right before the Lord. But blessings out the house of Elohim, man. Name of Yahushua. I love y'all, man. You who are willing, man, keep it rolling, keep it popping, man. We'll pick it up on tomorrow, man. Make it do what it do. Till that time. Oh, back hurt.